How to describe the plot of Terrifier? Even if I tried, I wouldn't do it better and more efficient than IMDb did, using only one sentence which encapsulates of what this crazy little indie slasher is all about. A maniacal clown terrorizes 3 young women on Halloween night and everyone else who stands in his way. At first it might not sound like much, but trust me when I say that it's just enough to make sure that you won't forget it soon. We meet the 2 main characters, Tara and Dawn, returning from a Halloween party. Unfortunately for them, they crossed paths with a clown/mime. One of the girls drunkenly teases him a little bit, and by the expression of his face alone, you just know that he already has some ideas about what he is going to do to them. What happens next is the classic cat and mouse play between psychopathic killer and his potential victims. Let's talk about a real show-stealer of this film. Art the Clown, portrayed by David Howard Thornton. I will be honest, in a history of slasher films we had some more or less memorable killers. Some of them became iconic, others remained more obscure and known only to the fans of this type of movies. Art the Clown has the great potential to be up there with the best of the genre. First of all, he never makes a sound. Thornton manages to creep you out using only his costume, facial expressions and mime skills which he had prior to filming. He is always bizarrely entertaining and insane, but he grabs attention like no other villain and you just want him to be on screen as much as possible. I mean, just look at him, just sitting and smiling, or watch him go on his tiny bike. There is something wrong going on inside his head. He is like a mixture of Michael Myers and Freddy with a dash of Joker on acid. Fans of David Thornton should check out his YouTube channel, where in one of the videos he reenacts a scene from The Man Who Killed Batman cartoon as a Joker. Definitely worth watching, as he is such a vibrant and talented actor.
Massive mound of disease hyena filth who isn't even fit to lick the dirt from my spats!
The feel and look of the film is reminiscent of the 80s slashers, which is nicely accentuated by Paul Wiley's soundtrack. It's really gritty, dark, and I would even say downright ugly, in the best way possible. Majority of action takes place in this old abandoned building. The overall vibe and atmosphere of it reminded me a bit of a dream sequences from Freddy Krueger's house in a Nightmare on Elm Street series. And I know that this comparison is a bit of a stretch, but seeing this creepy building and Art the Clown roaming its corridors, I immediately thought about Freddy in a similarly hellish scenario. Fun thing about Terrifier is that despite the retro look, it is set in today's world, at one point making some darkly funny jokes about narcissistic nature of social media and selfies. I would like to tell you more about the plot twists and how this movie plays with your expectations regarding a slasher flick, but this will involve some major spoilers, so if you haven't seen it yet, please skip to this minute. There are a few moments where movie kinda breaks the rules of the genre, like for example when Art is in a fight with Tara and uses a gun, which is not something you usually see in this type of movies. Even though I see how that might be seen as a negative thing for some viewers, I actually really loved how out of place and against all rules of slasher films that was. It was surprising to see him be all like, okay, that's enough of it, I'm done playing with you, and then he pulls out the gun and simply shoots her. This is the thing about this movie. The inspirations here are obvious, but at the same time it has the confidence to be original and takes freedom in setting its own rules. Many of the overused horror motifs are turned upside down here, which is great, because at the end you are not sure what to expect from it anymore. The character of Tara is supposed to be a main hero of the movie, but then she dies and you realize that there is still more than a half an hour of a movie left. Another twist is at the very end, so again, spoiler warning. Art shot himself when confronted by the police, but he comes back to life when he is seen by the coroner. Throughout the movie we just assume that he is a twisted psychopath in a costume, but not that there is a supernatural aspect to him. That surely caught me off guard, but it was interesting direction and, most importantly, open ending like this suggests interesting possibilities for a sequel. But there is also another twist at the very end, which ties together with the opening scene of an interview with Art's victim with disfigured face. I found it to be very effective and clever, very nice move, even though it was creepy as hell. We do have some classic bad horror decision making, especially from Tara, and more than one time for that matter. At first I was willing to let it go, but later on there is another situation where she acts so ridiculous that you want to scream at the screen. As for the lack of backstory for both main protagonists and Art, in one of the interviews director Damien Leone explains that his intention was to eliminate too much of pointless dialogue and one-dimensional characters taking too much screen time, allowing the main villain to have as much time and possibilities to terrorize his victims. And if that was the goal, then it definitely succeeded at that. Terrifier knows exactly what it wants to be and is focused on being a exploitative, violent ride. Plain and simple. But in a sequel I expect to see a more in-depth storyline regarding the origins and motivations of Art. I also have to say that supporting cast was at times a bit underwhelming, but not to the point where it would bother me too much or that it took me out of the story. There is so much soul and love put into this film that you can just feel it, however strange it sounds in the context of a clown serial killer slasher. But it really shows on the screen when ambitious filmmakers can overcome low-budget limitations relying on their skills and imagination. Damien Leone even shows appreciation to directors that shaped and inspired him, particularly Wes Craven, Tobe Hooper and George A. Romero. During the end credits he dedicates Terrifier their memory. And I loved that he pulled no punches making it. Kills are extremely effective and gory, and most of them was made with practical special effects. There is of course this one infamous scene with one of the girls and a saw. It reminded me of a similar scene in a movie Bone Tomahawk, which was truly gruesome, but here they went over the top. It will be something that you won't soon forget, that's for sure. Regardless whether you consider clowns to be scary or not, if you are into slasher films and you want to see something exciting, reminiscing of the old school of horror movies but at the same time fresh and with its own twists, you definitely don't want to miss Terrifier.